Let's get that turn again. That's very cool looking.
Hey.
Hey, what's up, man?
Hey, what's up, everybody?
Hi.
Today on the show, we have my guest, what's the guy's name? Jordan Peterson. Hey, I got a lot of problems with you, man.
That's your argument, you scum rat. You're going to use that as a moral lever.
No, I'm not.
That's your level of...
Whoa! Hey, man. I'm not a scum rat. Hey, shut up, man. I'm just a normal, relatively clean rat.
You scum rat.
Hey, man. Hey, man. Look, yes, do I have rat-like features? Yes, maybe I do, but scum rat? Joe Rogan scum rats. Check it out, man.
Rogan experience.
Hey, check this thing out. I'm doing podcast by night. During the night. Hey, well, wait, is it at night?
Nobody.
At least that's allegedly. Not that I don't think he did it. I definitely think he did it. But I also think the cops planted evidence, which is probably at least partially why he got off. You know?
Right. Okay.
I think the big reason why he got off was Rodney King, right?
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank God. And
praise God.
Because my life has been out of control lately. People have been calling me a scum rat. I'm like, I need to develop myself. I'm out of control. I'm an idiot, you know? So I need the guidance of Dr. Jordan James Peterson. This is kind of funny in the beginning. For some reason, Joe Rogan's like, Jamie bought O.J. Simpson's golf clubs. I think he's trying to tee Jordan Peterson up for some jokes, some comedy riffs here. And Jordan Peterson is just like, well, it's weird. No. Joe Rogan's like, look, man, I think he did do it. Yeah. Jordan Peterson's like, okay, I'm here again, Joe. Okay, come on, Jordan. Enough. Give me the advice. Enough with this O.J. Simpson crap. Give me the advice I need to go like this. And go like this.
When it comes to anti-Semitism,
Easy, Joe.
It's one of those things where you can't separate.
Okay.
Take
your time.
It's a religion, and it's also a race, and it's also a government.
Mm-hmm.
That's where things get weird.
Right.
And then there's also the concept of intelligence agencies and compromise that also gets attached to it, the manipulation of world markets and money. And there's a lot to unpack. And then there's regular Jewish people who have nothing to do with that.
Well, the Jews, too, they're very successful.
Yeah.
And so what you would expect from a purely statistical point of view is you'd expect them to be overrepresented at the extremes.
They're also a walled garden, right?
Meaning?
Meaning it's very difficult to join. They don't proselytize. They don't try to get you to join.
Right.
And they're all very tightly knit. They call themselves the Klan. They're all like locked in.
They all are?
Jewish Klan.
Okay, wait, I think I got the wrong time code here. Whoa, wait, what's going on here? I thought Jordan Peterson was going to try to tell me how to get a wife or something.
What is this? How did we get here?
I don't know how we got here, man. I like that Jordy Peterson, he's like trying to go along with Joe on this. Joe's like, they're a tightly knit group. You can't get in there. What's going on in there? What's going on in there, man? Jordan Peterson's like, what? What's that? What are you saying there, Joe? You can't get in there, man. It's like there's a fence around that whole thing. What? What's the thing you were just saying? What's up, man?
Right.
And a lot of that's cloaked in anti-Semitic guys. There's plenty of anti-Semitism on the left, too, by the way. So it's not unique to the right.
Well, particularly now.
Yes,
right.
Particularly now.
Right, absolutely.
And so, you've let your...
Is that true? Can we get a fact check from Jamie on that one? Hey, Jamie.
Boom.
Okay, wait, hold on. What is this? This already got like 1 million views in 10 hours. I don't know. I would like to see the numbers on the JRE. Sorry. I'm being a real scum rat right now. It's the JRE. I almost called it the Joe Rogan program. That's scum rat behavior. That's what a
toilet
rat would do. But I would like to see like across all platforms, like what does the Joe Show get number-wise? There's like a sizable percent of just people, just humans listening to this. I don't know how he does this. I don't know how he does it. How does he do it? Where he's just like, I'm going to riff on this a little bit. Let me just riff this out a little bit. Look, I know like a percentage of human beings is watching this. Sizable. Let me just riff this out a little bit. They're like behind the wall, kind of. These people are kind of behind a wall. They're all kind of together, yeah. Also, the left is anti-Semitic. Anyway, 4 billion views. I don't know. Let me riff this out. Let's see if there's something funny here. They're all a group. They're all together in there. What the hell are they doing in there? Yeah. and they're kind of the government, or people say that or something, and the left are racist against them. I like there's a part where even like a nutty guy like Jordan Peterson is what, Joe? Jordan Peterson's like, Jamie, what? Jamie, can you clarify what Joe's? I'm just saying it's a confusing issue. It's tangled. There's people going on podcasts saying stuff as people get confused. That's sick. What do you think about that, Jordy?
Should that be legal, Jordy?
My favorite thing of the JRE is when Joe's just saying a bunch of stuff and then he makes like the most vague like summary or conclusion about it. He's like, there's a lot to unpack here, The way that this is packed is all up, right, Jordy? Oh, maybe, Jamie. I mean, this stuff is just like, it's all packed, all weird,
All these complex things are multidimensional. I mean,
yeah, 6, 7 minimum on the dimensions, I would say. A lot to unpack.
I watched your whole conversation with Douglas.
Me
and
too.
I thought you guys did a very credible job, all three of you, of navigating unbelievably choppy waters. So that's the first thing I'd like to say.
Jordy, man, you guys are forcing me to really muscle my way in here. Can I talk? Choppy waters with unpackabilities. That's what I was going to say. What do you guys think about that?
Because one of the things I was trying to figure out when I was watching that is,
right,
do I think I could have done a better job of any of you? And I certainly didn't walk away from it with that idea in mind.
I don't know what people get out of it. I mean, already a million views on this. What do people get out of this? Jordan Peterman's like, that interview was amazing. You guys did such a good job at navigating such choppy waters. Those waters were all like, those waters were out here like, and you guys were out here like,
I'm a perfectly stable individual.
Okay, enough with that. That whole Dave Smith, Douglas Murray thing went pretty viral, it seems. And it was just most people making fun of that guy, Douglas Murray. He's like, oh, you have to go to this place to like comment on the widely reported stuff that's going on there. You have to have visited on like a sponsored, let's just say press tour, or else you don't know what you're talking about. Most people were making fun of that guy. So again, this is just another, but you look through the comments of this and it's just like millions, bazillions of comments. They're like, man, what a refreshing conversation between two non-scummed rats. And it's just like, weren't you guys like just making fun of a guy who's basically Jordan Peterson like a couple days ago? Who knows? Who knows what the hell's going on in the Joe Rogan comment section?
They're the ones who conspire to crucify him.
Whoa.
Right? The religious pretenders. So this has been going on for a very long period of time.
Praise God.
So
okay, what are we talking about
here?
The
climate apocalypse narrative is perfectly situated to, what would you say, to serve the purposes of the narcissists, the Machiavellians, the psychopaths, and the sadists, because it's a infinitely expanding existential threat that can be used as an excuse for anything.
Yes.
Right.
It's an excuse for anybody to go like this.
Boom.
Okay. Hey, we're getting into scum rat territory with the sounds. Okay.
A perfect cloak for any amount of power maneuvering.
Right,
like,
exactly.
I want to make your shower heads put out a needle spray so that you're cold all the time while you have a shower, while you're doing something you do every day that could otherwise be highly enjoyable.
They better not.
Why? Well, because the planet's at stake, Joe. And who are you to privilege your shower comfort, something
Joe
that
break,
trivial,
man.
over the fate
Give
of
Joe
the
a
entire
break.
planet?
He didn't do anything.
Well, you can use that argument at every single level. Trump came out with this executive statement just a few days ago about...
We have that executive statement here in audio form. Go ahead.
It's weird.
Oh, it is. Okay, anything to add to that, Mr. President?
Bye-bye.
Okay, is he leaving?
Trump came out with this executive statement just a few days ago about shower heads. And everybody kind of laughed about that. And I thought, no, he has an eye for petty tyranny.
Bye-bye.
Right, for petty tyranny.
Hey, whoa. Joe, don't blow smoke in this guy's face. That's your elder, man. Joe's over here giving this Canadian guy one of these.
Do you scum rat?
Hey, man.
Do you scum rat?
So that's Jordan Peterson standing up to the...
Do you scum rat?
Yeah, this is an interesting point to unpack here. I love to unpack points. Sounds like this. Sometimes I see an unpacked point, and I look at it and say...
Do you scum rat?
Because it is kind of true what Jordan Peterson's saying. Like, yes, disasters, emergencies. They are exploited. You could read a few books to learn about that.
You scum rat.
But, I'm watching a lot of Jordan Peterson type media, trying to learn how to get a wife and all this stuff. So I'm watching this stuff. And I've seen a lot, like Tim Pool and all these guys. They're like, look, man, there's an emergency going on. There's mobs of gang members trying to get me. So sorry, but laws don't apply anymore. That's kind of all over this kind of media. But Jordan Peterson is like, well, these climate people, they're doing that. And it's so sick to the point that my shower is cold and pointy. Joe's even like kind of brought this up on his show. He's like, man, I think laws should exist. I don't know what the hell's going on here, but I don't think they should just ship people out of the country to disgusting prisons. I don't know. But what do I know? They never really unpack that point, though.
You scum rat.
It's climate people. I'm not sure who exactly, but it's some climate people who are bad. I don't know, for some reason we're missing probably the most trending news stories right now. So, I don't know. I don't know who am I to say I'm just a common scum rat.
You scum rat.
Hey.
And so that's when Moses becomes a leader, right? And so that's
Absolutely.
the pattern. It's like
he was
ordinary
a bit of a scum rat
masculinity. Those are the dwarves that Snow White serves before she meets the prince, by the way. The ordinary masculine, right? So
whoa. Now that's an unpackable point right there. That is what I'm thinking when I watch Snow White. Look at those dwarves. That represents the ordinary masculine. Hi, I've been on Paramount Plus a little too long. I think I need to take a break.
I'm reading into cartoons a little bit too much at this point.
Squidward, that's the shadow self, and SpongeBob is the masculine energy. And the ether bond that connects the... Hey, no more cartoons, man. Go outside. Right. Now, Jordan, when you were talking about how Roblox represents the divine feminine Jungian nanomagic, I found that a fascinating point, and I was just wondering if you'd like to go outside, for an hour. No? Okay.
You scum rat. Snow White serves before she meets the prince, by the way. The ordinary masculine, right?
Absolutely, man.
So, and those dwarves protect her from the evil queen that wants to suppress her by feeding her a poisoned apple.
Yeah, I saw the
cartoon. So Snow White has to learn to serve the ordinary man before she can find a prince. Yeah, something Disney missed completely in the last story.
How did they miss that? Okay, Jordan Peterson is wrong on this, because I did go to see that new Snow White movie, and it's mandated in every theater that there's a guy who pauses, at key points in the film, and he's like, This is Snow White. She represents. That's what the guy said. Represents is a new way to say represents. She represents the divine feminine energy, and she has to interact with the common man that's represented by the dwarfs before she can move on to the prince. And I saw it at an Alamo Drafthouse theater. So I was eating chicken wings, and I threw one of my chicken bones at the guy. And then I shouted at him. I said,
"You scum rat." It's the same thing that speaks to Noah.
Absolutely.
Noah's a good man.
I say that a lot.
And a voice comes to him and says, all hell's about to break loose.
Whoa.
And he believes his intuition because he's a good man and can rely on himself. So he makes the ark, right? And he brings his family aboard,
Put the
and
animals...
culture and nature.
What's your take on, there's a university in Jerusalem that had this theory that the burning bush was the acacia bush. And the acacia bush is rich in DMT.
Well, I think
that...
Look, I think that...
I like this. This is just a straight up funny part. There are some funny parts in the JRE where Jordan Peterson, every 3 minutes, he's like, this is a Bible story. Here's a Bible story. It's also a self-help story. Noah did some crap. Noah was out there in his sandals, and he did some crap, and, maybe you could try that. Maybe you could try what Noah did.
You scum rat.
Jordan Peterson is giving all these long, look a little slightly long-winded. Maybe we could get the abridged version. No offense, man. And he's like, these are timeless stories for us to improve ourselves with. He does that over and over again. I was wondering, when he's telling these really long Bible stories, I'm like, couldn't I just make up a story? There were these two guys, and there was one guy who's a bit of a scum rat, and he died. So don't be like that. I don't know. Just a thought. But Jordan Peterson goes into this long thing. He's like, these are lessons for life, the Bible, all this stuff. And Joe Rogan's like, instead of okay, so these Bible stories, they're timeless. or like responding to what Jordan Peterson, the point he's making. Joe Rogan is just like, here's a fact that I know about. Moses might have been tripping, dude. Oh, could you imagine, Jordan? And then Jordan's like, I don't think you were listening, goddamn you scumrat, Joe. You know, to Joe's credit, I would have a very hard time listening to like the 10th Bible story. Is it a story for life thing? I think at that point, it would be like, you know, when you're in an office meeting or something, you just start counting things. How many pens are there over there? What is that? Probably 12.
And Cain doesn't. So Cain's
Okay.
sacrifices are rejected by God.
Another Bible story.
And God tells him, if you
Got
brought
it.
your best to the table,
God
you'd
said
be
that.
accepted. And Cain gets bitter and resents a giant carcass, right? And so when something dies, its
Jesus.
spirit, what would you say? Its spirit is then embedded in a carcass. That's a good way of thinking about it.
There
That's
it
why
is.
Pinocchio
There it
has
is.
to go into the belly of the whale. Right.
Boy, I don't know how you got that out of Pinocchio and the whale.
Well,
I'm
it's
trying
the-
to follow
Hey,
on this one. I'm like,
give him a
wow.
break. Give him a break, man.
Geppetto ends up laying.
He's having an episode, man. You know, I do like some of this stuff, like Zizek. Where the hell is that guy?
Toilets.
He did a documentary where he goes in kind of Jordan Peterson style on these old movies and stuff, David Lynch movies. It's kind of interesting because he's being creative with it, you know, and he makes some interesting points. Jordan Peterson keeps like doing these Bible stories and Pinocchio and Snow White and all this crap, but it always comes, it's like one message from everything, which is like, do your best and have a good attitude. Like with the Zizek stuff, it's like, if you look at this, you know, these weird movies like Mulholland Drive and all this stuff, it's like, it's kind of an interesting spin from the Zizek on that one. You know what's weird? There actually is a video on YouTube. How many views on this bad boy? 2.8K, whoa. Where Dr. Jordan James Peterman did a psychoanalytic breakdown of Mulholland Drive, the David Lynch movie. And there's actually some good stuff in here. Let's play a clip.
So the psychoanalytic perspective is that people
Right.
are inhabited by multiple spirits and they are not clearly the masters in their own houses.
Right.
And as far as I'm concerned, to not believe that is mere naivety.
Okay.
It seems to me, especially as a consequence of thinking of it for so long, that it's self-evidently true, and that if people, the
Right.
ego basically attempted to impose a coherent and somewhat simplified perspective on the world, which would be like Betty's initial viewpoint, and
Right.
that the fantasy world did everything it could to account for what that system could not account for, and then to try to start making sense out of it. And the reason it used
Right.
fantasy and dreams and artistic productions and so on, even rituals, is because the non-understood reality has to be acted out and presented in image before it can be understood in any articulated manner.
Yeah, this is sort of interesting because Joe Rogan, you know, this is getting massive views. Like every time Jordan Peterson goes on the Joe Rogan show, it's just like, with the views, it's just like absolutely with the views. But a lot of the stuff that he's saying, like the ways he's interpreting these stories, the Bible stories, Pinocchio, Roblox, Bluey, all this stuff, it kind of does conflict with a lot of the stuff he's saying in here when he's digging a little deeper into the, you know, the artistic crap. The last part of that clip I think is really smart. I think he's right. And basically Zizek says the same thing. He's like, these David Lynch movies, they're a way to show people's inner world and them struggling with reality. And David Lynch is just projecting that on the screen, that kind of crap. I think he's right. I mean, that's very smart. I think he's right on that. And then before that, he's like, look, another thing, this main character, you know, when your fantasy world is conflicting with the real world, there's all these other parts of your psyche that you don't really have access to, and then you find yourself just acting in ways that are beyond your control and all this. This does really conflict with a lot of the stuff he says now. So that's the other thing, you know, he goes on hours and hours on this Joe Rogan experience. You know, this is kind of his thing, like these stories, they give us meaning, but like for him, it does seem like the meaning of these very meaningful, unpackable, and
You scum rat.
stories, it's like they just kind of have changed to fit what like his audience wants, and you know, maybe this, yeah. So, you know, I don't know, maybe the ultimate story that Jordan Peterson is missing here is his own.
Ho, ho, ho! You scum rat.
You know, Jordan Peterson is always talking about being authentic. How authentic is he being here? you know?
This is like standard behavior for them, mocking and dismissing other ideas that are counter to theirs.
Right. Well, and there's plenty of reward for that disseminated in the universities.
Right.
Yes.
Right. And so that's part of their...
How do you fix that?
With
Or
Peterson
can you?
Academy.
Nah.
No, I'm dead serious,
I believe
man.
you. I believe
Look,
you.
It's not like I'm thrilled about the fact that Harvard is having a war with Donald Trump. And I'm less thrilled with the fact that I hope Donald Trump wins.
Okay, so the universities are all messed up too, so you got to go to Jordan Peterson University of the Arts and Sciences. And the...
Toilets.
No. Okay, there we go. Another absolute fire. Another one from Joe and Jordan James Spaderman. I learned a lot from this. Don't be a scum rat. Watch Pinocchio. Shut the hell up. Take one of these. And of course, always remember that...
Videos aren't real.
Okay. Well, guys, it's Wednesday. Wednesday, the who cares of days. Wednesday, the of days. But I hope you're having a great one. And I will talk to you next time. Bye-bye.
Hey everybody, hi, I'm a human man, not an AI-generated voice. I'm a living man. Yes, scum rat. Anyway, subscribe on Patreon. Subscribe on Patreon. Ooh, Patreon, what'll I get on there, you might be asking? Well, I've got answers to that question. If you let me finish. You're missing episodes every week, okay? And you get those when you subscribe on Patreon. And by the way, just between me and you, okay, this is not recorded, this is not public record. Those episodes are better. Those episodes are way better, man. So subscribe on Patreon for as little as $2 per month. Wait. $2 per month? No, I gotta read this again. Oh my God, it is right. This is correct. That's a crazy amount of money. Okay, but anyway, subscribe on Patreon. You get every episode every week. You also get question and answer shows. Those are really long. You could say stuff, be on the show, all this crap. For as little as $2 forgettable putrid dollars per month. Just click pro link on the description, man. On the description, I just said, let me say that again. Just click the link on top of the description or inside there. I don't know what it is. Okay? Just click the link in the description. It'll take you right there. It's that easy. It can't be. You're thinking, no. Yes, it can. Anyway, I'm a real guy signing out.